to make us think things are important when they're really not. The best news out there is boring news. So there
Yeah.
are more boring news channels. The BBC to me is really, really boring. And there are here in the United States, there's PBS and NPR, and they're boring. They don't make me all angry and all upset. And the best, if you're going to watch consume news, you want to find the most boring one possible because it means it is not trying to hijack your emotions. It means it's just trying to inform you. And that is the only news worth watching. It is ones that are boring. So I prefer myself to watch long form journalism, which means either books or documentaries. So I will wait. People easily watch 2 hours of news a day, easily,
Yeah. And
and
in Israel, even more. We
even
have
more.
every each half an hour we have news.
So in 10 hours, you can read a book. In 10 hours,
Yeah.
you can read a book. So 2 hours a day, 5 days, that's a book. So
Yeah.
rather than me watching the horrible, terrible exit the United States had out of Afghanistan, and I caught little clips of video on that, and
Yeah.
I saw a couple talking heads talking about who was right and who was wrong and how we screwed it up, I'll wait a year, and then I will actually read a book that actually interviews all the prime ministers, the generals, the defense secretaries, and they'll get to be the real story.
Yeah.
And then I will read a long 500-page book in about 10 hours that will tell me empathetically with real information in the way that I understand what really happened, rather than
Yeah.
watching this sensationalized outrage machine every single day for two
Yeah.
hours.
So we have a
Books
very
are so much better.
Yeah, I totally agree. So Erez Dershkovich is saying that if everyone follows my idea, there will be no one to update me on the news. So Erez is totally right, but I'm not sure that every news is so important. So maybe I need to not know about some of them. But I totally agree. I don't think that nobody needs to know what's going on in the world. I'm just saying that the way that we're consuming the news and what's going on is it makes us feel bad, and it makes us feel anxious and lonely and helpless. And sometimes when you're doing something, you need to be aware that there is something that you could do or not, but always feeling that nothing is there is no hope. It feels it yeah. He says that I need to think positive. Aries says we need to think positive. Yeah, but how can you think positive, Aries? Because everybody's saying that everything is like around you, you cannot control. Everything is bad. Everything is sensation. Everything is really like they're overreacting, and you see it in Israel all the time. Like we had like half a year ago in Israel, we had very bad weather, really bad weather, but we don't have like hurricane in Israel, never ever. Okay, and we had like it was a bit windy, and we had some places we had snow, but not more than that. And they gave it a name, like Katrina, and there is a storm, and like, no, it's not. It's just windy weather. That's it. The fact that you call it, it's not Katrina. It's not like it was so. They're just trying to catch your attention, and they're succeeding. So it's I totally understand why they're doing that. But I want to take this further and to talk about the metaverse, right? So it's like the next stage of everyone not going outside, staying in front of a screen, and then being detached from your real life in this like AR thing, and going into a world which is not the real world. So what do you think about that?
So first of all, you have to define the metaverse, and it's really hard to define. Is something like Roblox the metaverse? Yeah, probably. Are some of these open world games like Second Life, are those a metaverse? Yeah, probably. So, and then of course we saw the debut of what Facebook considered to be the metaverse, where you're actually living there and working there. Is it the metaverse? And sure, maybe that's the metaverse. So first thing you've got to understand is that between 30 and 40% of all people get motion sick when wearing VR goggles. So
I'm
if
one
you're
of them
wearing
for
VR
sure.
goggles all day long, between 30 and 40% of people will get actually motion sick. Will
Yeah.
I use eventually VR goggles to do a meeting like this? So rather than having a two-dimensional interaction with
Yeah.
you, will it feel more three-dimensional? Sure, absolutely. Will I do that for a half an hour or an hour? Absolutely. Am I going to spend 8 or 12 hours a day with those stupid goggles on my face? And the answer is absolutely not. So it is going to be a niche product that you use sometimes, especially for us adults. There are people and there are movies, documentary films for people who actually have gotten sucked into games like Second Life, where they actually built relationships and then tried to have real world relationships. And almost always, the people who were spending 6 and 8 hours a day were addicted, and they were incredibly unhealthy. They had unhealthy lives. So if we are at our healthiest when we are actually spending real time, real world, face to face, that's where our healthiest. The metaverse is 180 degrees in the wrong direction. So for us, which is an upstart civil media company who is trying to get a toehold in a very, very crowded universe, I couldn't be happier that Facebook is going to spend $10 billion and all of their energy on something as stupid as the metaverse. Couldn't be happier that they're going to do that. They think that corporations are going to trust them, which means that you're going to put these VR goggles on, or AR or VR goggles on, and you're going to be doing your whole work life. Instead of looking at a computer screen, you'll see a screen on your VR goggles, and you're going to be showing your most sensitive work documents, and you're going to share that with Facebook. I don't know any business in America that trusts Facebook with their data. Facebook is one of the most exploitive and evil companies on the planet. They will take, if they see your work documents, they will be reading it, they'll be scanning it, they'll be using it for their own means. They are so incredibly untrustable, and businesses know that. So the whole idea that we're going to be doing our work inside of Facebook, who has exploited our data, is a fantasy. It's an absolute illusion. Now, we do trust Google and we do trust Microsoft with all of our work data. We already have our Microsoft Words and Sheets there. So we might do that. We might go into a meeting there and share our data. But with Facebook, it is absolutely not going to happen. So I couldn't be happier that they're trying to just foray into the metaverse.
Yeah, you know what? I'd be happy to hear. Yesterday, I got a link for someone that Accenture is taking the first day of their new employees in the metaverse, and